Alrighty, we're recording.
We're rolling? Alright.
Fantastic.
Welcome, everyone, to a podcast.
Yeah! And I get to be a guest on the podcast!
Josh is here.
Yeah!
I'm Danny.
I'm Patrick. I live here.
And also there is...
Hunter, which is me. I am Hunter.
And Jacob.
And that's everybody. And that's everyone.
That's five of us, in
Alright.
case you weren't counting properly.
What about the ghost?
We
There's
don't
also-
talk about the ghost.
He lived with us last year, if you didn't know.
So what?
Dan and I lived with a ghost.
Yeah, that's true. So what are we doing today, guys?
So usually we talk about movies and comic books and stuff, but sometimes there are original properties that are just so cool you have to watch all three movies in one day. So 2 days ago we watched all three John Wick movies in a day, and it was awesome. We're gonna talk John Wick today.
It's a John Wick day today.
Awesome. And more specifically, like, we've each written a little pitch for what we think the fourth movie should be. And,
yes.
and which includes some plot points and an idea for a fight sequence of some variety that will
Yeah.
happen, because they're always really creative and awesome and make me very happy. So yeah.
Yeah. Spoilers for the first three John Wicks, I guess. If that,
Spoilers that there is a first three. And
if
that
you
they're
care.
making-
That on its own is a spoiler.
There
yeah.
you go.
Oh wow.
Oops. We already ruined it. Nice job, everyone.
Turns out the third movie, called Prepare for War, is just them preparing for war.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk?
It's not the last one.
Sorry.
No, this is not a John Wick trilogy. It's gonna keep going. So
Probably a couple movies.
until the end of time.
Like Star Wars.
They're gonna make them until Keanu Reeves is so old that they have to, for all the fight scenes, CG his face onto a younger guy, but then in all the walking and talking dialogue scenes, it's just Keanu Reeves again. They're gonna CG his face.
Or
on
they'll
the
just
Tom
Clint
Cruise.
Eastwood him, and then
Yeah,
he'll
just make him really old
And
and
also-
decrepit,
Yeah.
but still good at killing people
Yeah.
somehow.
Despite his old age.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Alright, so
Just
you want to talk about John Wick 3, just because that's
because it's fresh and
Yeah,
refreshed.
fresh,
absolutely.
you know.
Sure.
I liked it. Hot take. Thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
It's my favorite of the three. Hands down.
Hands down.
Hands down.
Cool.
I kind of like how simple the first one is,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Yeah.
got like a complete story, and I dig that.
I dig
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah. So it's like they don't really leave a whole lot open,
Yeah.
but like
That's
the
true.
way they do too, though, doesn't make you feel like, oh, why is it still going? It's like, it's like they give a good reason for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the world is like so interesting that it's like I kind of want to see more.
It's like, oh, I'm not
Exactly.
complaining that we're
Yeah.
back here. Like, it's
Yeah.
Yeah, it always feels like. It always feels like they're just, you never want info dumping in a movie. Like, you never want info dumping in a movie. This movie's really good at not info dumping.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you learn something new. Just like in an aside, like there are a bunch. Like there's a guy who comes in and is has just minted some new assassin coins.
Right.
And he goes, these are exquisite. And now I'm thinking, like, what are they, like, handcrafted?
Yeah.
put these into circulation right away.
Right
Like,
away.
Yeah.
But, like, they never tell you who that guy was or where he comes from or anything like that. And,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah,
Yeah,
They
like
have
you
these
just
assassin
lots of-
coins. They gotta have an assassin mint somewhere. Like,
Yeah.
somewhere,
We just
yeah.
know that they make them. That's about all we've learned. Is that they make their own coins,
Yeah.
which is like,
Well, I mean,
It's just-
some of the most powerful
yeah.
people in the world sit at this high table.
right.
So I imagine that minting coins is the least of what they can do. They're probably made of solid
How
gold.
high does the table go though? Is like the president like on the high table or something? Like,
I would say probably like the figures are not that public. I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like they probably just own the president.
I just thought of a good idea.
I own a butcher
What
shop.
if, which
But
I
I'm on
did-
the high table.
which I didn't write down in my pitch, but I'm gonna say it anyways. What if, like in Breaking Bad, how like one of the main bad guys, Gus Fring, is just like Colonel Sanders publicly, but then like on the down low he's like a huge crime lord. So like, what if like
And a meth dealer.
yeah? So that's what I'm like picturing is like one of the members of the high table is like Elon Musk or something, like everyone knows him, but then like secretly like he's like an assassin boy.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be amazing. I wonder if Elon Musk would like be up for that.
He seems to be up for some like random stuff, so,
Right? I mean, he did say some pretty
I don't know.
pretty terrible stuff about rescue teams like a year ago, but
Oh well, you know he's gonna take us to Mars, so he can't be that bad.
Anyways, back on John Wick. I think I really like this series. The fact that it is a series is mind blowing because it's just like, oh, I have an idea for a movie. Okay, let's make it. And then it's like, now there's 3. So these things just kind of happen when you have a good idea that you care about.
and and
Execute well.
execute well, exactly. Like people, including us, obviously we want to talk about this series because it's fucking great.
Yeah.
And you know the third one, I have my problem with the third one, which is I'll get to in a bit, but I think the fight scenes are the most amazing they have ever been.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I was getting to is that this series has a persistence to outdo itself.
Absolutely.
With every sequel. So I'm very excited for whatever they come up with next because I know they're going to try to outdo themselves again and they will succeed because that's what they do. Yeah. That's what they've shown they can do over the last like 5 years is that they just keep making these and making them great. So, yeah.
Yeah. My one little thing is like, in the first one, you know, he gets saved by his friend a couple times, and that's cool because he's a human being and he's been retired for 5 years, so he's still getting back in the game. And then in the second one, they have to give him physical armor so he can survive.
Right. The
movie.
The amount of it's basically the
amount
movie
of damage he's
because
like, put through,
it's
A
just
lot
gotten
of damage.
that much more intense. There's
Yeah.
that much damage.
Yeah.
So he just wouldn't have lived through that movie if he hadn't had that like special suit armor.
Yeah.
And then in the third one, he gets pushed off a fucking building, and he's still alive, like straight up 7-story building, just to the ground.
He hits like everything.
Everything
on
on the way down.
Yeah.
There's a few parts where like you see him like bend in certain ways that like bodies probably shouldn't be bending.
Yeah.
The fact that he's still alive, I'm just like, well, I don't like. The thing I loved about the first one was that he didn't have plot armor.
Right.
You know, and he gets fucking injured and horribly like broken and beaten and stuff. And then in this one, like they gave him plot armor.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like I still love the character and I still love the series and I want to know what happens next. But I'm just like, can you you gave him plot? Can you just take it back? Take it back for the next one.
I feel like he's always kind of had a level of plot armor though, just because like there's a bit where he gets like shot and then he's like bleeding and like in the second one, I'm thinking he gets shot like 2 or 3 times, like clean through.
Right.
And he's fucking bleeding. And then he fights a whole bunch of guys.
And
he eventually takes his hand off of the wound. Like, is he not bleeding out? Like,
well, that's when he gets gives the coin to the hobo and then they patch him up.
oh, I know, but that's way later. He fights a bunch of people before that happens.
is true.
He gets
He does-
shot like really early on in that
Yeah,
sequence.
that's true. He does fight several guys after he gets shot.
Yeah. So like that's like a real person would be dead through most of
Oh,
what John
many
Wick does.
times,
Like even in the
yeah.
first one. So like
yeah.
I don't think it's too much of a stretch, but like it is. The fact is that I think it's more noticeable when it's very blatant because like that's kind of sucky, but it's more accurate when it's like, oh yeah, I got shot and I bled out. It's like, well, that's boring. I don't want to see that. But you know, that's not something you think about when you're watching a movie. Like, you can just watch it and enjoy it. But when someone straight up gets thrown off a building, it's like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about this now. So it's it's a little less subtle.
Yeah, like the bleeding thing. Like they managed to distract you from that enough that I didn't notice it. I didn't. But like as soon as the building thing happened, I was like, and now suddenly I'm not in the movie anymore. Now I have to suspend my disbelief, like entirely, in order to know that this guy's alive. Yeah. Not that he walked away. I know he didn't walk away. I know that
he was pushing the shopping cart.
Put it in the shopping cart. But yeah, if the next movie picks up. If the next movie doesn't pick up several months later and he's been doing like rehabilitation for like a couple months.
Play it on there. I didn't see it.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I didn't put it there.
I'm gonna call heavy bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the quality of the rest of the movie outweighs that.
For sure.
But it's like if there was a flaw in the movie, that's it.
Suspension
but
of disbelief moment.
Everything else
so
is really
good.
well choreographed, really well shot, really well executed on every level.
Absolutely.
The movies are already kind of like a heightened reality anyways. There's like this underground assassin world and stuff.
And the New York subway is clean.
Yeah.
I know, I noticed that.
So, you know, like it's make-believe. It's a fucking dream world, baby.
Yeah, there's never a low, like a necessary, like a point where it slows down, like, or like to the extent that you get bored. Like it is constantly engaging, like throughout the entire movie.
And they managed to, you know, they do something that a lot of action movies don't get right, which is making the character interactions as tense and interesting as the fighting is.
You're just waiting for the next action scene. You're there.
Pretty much every character in the movie has a reason to kill him. So there's constant tension in every scene that he's in.
And there's there are great moments like the Doc. The Doc is probably like the best character in the third one. Like he's just like in terms of like moral high ground. Like he's a great guy. And he's helped him out, and then the clock ticks and strikes the hour, and he's like, "Sorry, John, I can't keep going." But then he pulls out his gun, and I'm like, Is he gonna be forced to like try to hunt John down?
Right.
Yeah. At first you think he's gonna shoot John because it's like John has his back turned and he pulls out a gun. And he's like, "I'm sorry, John," and then it's like, "You have to shoot me," and then you're like, "What?" And then, I guess that makes sense.
That was really.
It's the only way I'm gonna get to live.
Exactly.
So sorry. I mean, it sucks for me more because this is gonna hurt me a lot more than it hurts you because I'm the one that has to get shot. But
yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So the third film's heavy spoilers ahead. Let's sets us up for the war. Really,
the war
with the high table says parabellum, prepare for war. So at the end there, the Winston, is that his name?
Yeah.
That's the
manager.
That's Ian McShane's character.
Ian McShane, yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful man. Betrays him, throws him off a building to get his job back under the table. And then, the educator notices that he's gone, and she's like, "Where's his body? We don't want him coming after us, because he's going to kill us."
And he's like, "I don't know. I don't care."
So there's a bit of ambiguity there as to whether he meant for John to survive or not.
Which I really like, because that character, his only motivation is, I want to keep my job, my house. And he does that. So once he's accomplished that, it doesn't matter if John Wick lives or dies.
Yeah, he's flipping a coin on that, literally.
Yeah.
So.
And then Laurence Fishburne's character is still alive, which I really
somehow.
like.
Yeah. So also somehow, but like.
Also somehow, yeah.
But that doesn't bother me too much either.
Yeah. No,
he's fucked up enough.
I like having him around.
I like having him around as well.
Yeah.
And he looks pretty fucked up too.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I feel like there's some kind of like he had some kind of trick up his sleeve when they like he was
for sure.
He was planning on faking his death. So I think there's enough kind of mystery around that character that you can kind of buy.
I actually have a theory
about
about
how
him
how
and how
powerful he is.
and who he is. Because
Does it tie into your
a little bit, yeah,
your pitch? Cool.
a little bit. I like
Do you wanna
a
save
revelation.
Cool.
About him.
Oh,
Do
fantastic.
you want to save it for the pitch?
Yeah,
or
Yeah, I was thinking I'd go first because I don't really have like a solid pitch, but I do have like a bunch of ideas.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Or not
we're
a
just
bunch.
We're just gonna throw
okay,
ideas
not a
on
bunch.
each
I have a
other.
few ideas that, are, that could be interesting.
Why don't you just go into it then?
Yeah. All right. So let's do it. Pitch time.
Pitch time.
Pitch package.
Pitch your wicks.
All right.
Wick pitch.
So at the end of John Wick 3,
Yeah.
John Wick is real busted up,
Yeah.
and he's saved by the homeless people. And Laurence Fishburne's like, "Hey, John, want to help me take down the high table?" And he's like, "Yeah." But he's like really messed up. So I'm thinking he needs some time to recover. So he's gonna be like, out of it for a while. But then once he recovers and gets back into it, the car's gonna be ready.
Yeah.
So he has the car ready. And then he's gonna drive it. It's gonna be really cool. And then we cut into like the credits and stuff.
Oh, okay,
It's
nice.
Like
I like that.
Yeah.
So I guess
the main theme over top.
now I'm not sure. Yeah. No, that's fine. Not sure where they should start, but I think it would be fun if they started by taking down the Continental. I think that would be kind of fun, or at least trying to.
Cool.
I thought that would be like a fun little sequence. Lots of because that's John Wick 3, like starts off with like some of the best action scenes in the entire movie. So I think
Yeah.
might as well in 4 like just start off strong. And what was the other? Oh, Laurence Fishburne. Okay,
Right.
I think you remember the Impossible Task
Yes.
that we've never
that we don't know
that
what
we
it
don't know
is.
what it is.
But
Okay,
we know that John Wick did an impossible task.
So-
Yes.
and that's how he was
Yeah.
able to get out.
so I
And they,
think
had to,
part of
and they
that.
had to kill a lot of people.
He had
Yeah, he had to kill
hundreds of people.
lots of people.
Presumably.
Yeah.
So you know how John Wick like cut Laurence Fishburne? Like he like
Yeah.
he like almost killed him, but was like, you can keep your life if you keep your hand on this wound here that I just gave you,
Right.
or you can try to kill me, pull your gun, take your hand off the wound and die. So
Yeah,
you can choose. So I think that Laurence Fishburne was like a crime lord of some kind,
Okay.
and in opposition to Vigo. And
Right,
Vigo's like, okay, I need
the bad guy
you.
from the first.
If you want to retire, you have to take down his entire crime network. Like you need to
Okay.
take them all out.
Yeah, from the root to the
Yeah,
Yeah.
just you, no help, because I don't have much help to give you. Because at this
Right.
point, I'm not that powerful.
Yeah, not as, yeah.
So he takes it. He does it. Like he takes them all out, and he leaves Laurence Fishburne alive
Right.
as like a honor thing or
Yeah.
whatever. And then Laurence Fishburne's like, okay, I went about it all wrong. I need to rebuild myself as something else. So he like creates the Bowery and all that stuff. That's what I was like thinking. So that was like his impossible task or whatever.
Okay.
So that was my one. And for the action scene, thought it'd be cool if we have a fight. The high table is an actual table. that's my thought. And they have a fight on the table, also with the table. They kick the table at each other, and stuff like that. There's table. They flip the table.
What about like
Twice.
breaking it and stuff?
Yeah.
Like John Wick gets like sumoed onto the table
Yeah,
and it cracks in half.
yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, stuff like that. That'd be cool. Also, I'd like Carrie-Anne Moss and Hugo Weaving to be in it at some point. Maybe as members of the High Table. That would be fun. Cool. I'd be up for that.
I also have Carrie-Anne Moss in my pitch, so
Okay.
we'll get to that.
Yeah, those are the ideas that I have pretty much. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Pitch number 1 of 5.
Cool.
That's good.
Let's go next.
Who wants to go next?
Excellent. I'll go next.
Great.
Right. So this is John Wick 4. This is when we start seeing actual assassin warfare.
Right.
Because what we've been seeing up until this point is like revenge plots and him just trying to like survive when the High Table is going after him. He didn't have any network. He doesn't have any he uses up the last of his connections to get to the one who sits above the high table to survive. Now we've got something a little bit different. Now he's got the backing of Laurence Fishburne's underground network. That character who presumably can't be tracked because of all the stuff that he says in the third one about no IP addresses, all that stuff when he's talking about the pigeons.
Yeah.
Who's got a system which is harder to he's harder to find and track down. And I imagine if he keeps moving and stuff, the underground in New York is insane. They can get stuff done like that. So I've kind of got as my pitch that at the beginning of the fourth one, there's an action sequence, and I don't know if this is the same action sequence as the one, I'm going to pitch an action sequence, but at the beginning of the movie, there's an action sequence where he's going and he's basically saving, it's maybe a couple months down the line, he's saving Halle Berry's character's daughter from the high table who have found and are going to kill her for helping him.
This is at the start of the movie?
This is the start of the movie.
Cool. That's cool.
That's awesome.
So he saves Halle Berry's daughter, and Laurence Fishburne and his network are we'll take care of her.
That's cool.
And through that, he gets Halle Berry on board, and then he he starts gathering allies and making connections super under the low key, not killing people, just going and making these deals and so the guy at the Continental, the receptionist guy, he gets him on board, and he gets all these a few people that we've the car mechanic is come and be the car mechanic for the underground, the under table, and he gets a bunch of people together and now they actually have a force, so they can do more complicated operations and stuff.
Right.
So that's, and then I see war with the high table, going and taking out people, taking out resources that they've got. Basically, the movie is that they've got to get the high table to convene, because they don't convene very often. I'd say.
Right.
The
Okay.
12,
They're all. There's 12. Yeah. That makes sense.
Make the 12 go into one place so that John can kill them all.
Right.
Impossible to do, but that's the thing to do, is to kill all the members of the high table.
Sorry, just on your opening scene, for whatever reason, I imagined it taking place in a boat. Or he has to save her daughter from a boat. I don't know why I imagined that way. I just did.
That is.
I didn't even think of a boat sequence.
Yeah, so maybe maybe a yacht or something.
Now that I'm hearing other pitches, I'm I should have thought of that. That's a good idea.
I'm just thinking of this now. He's just he saves her. I'm in a boat, obviously. Why? Why? That makes no sense.
I also have the return of Cassian, the assassin from the second movie, as an enemy.
Oh yeah.
The aorta guy.
That's
the aorta guy. Yeah.
What's the actor for him?
Common.
Yeah, Common. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got him returning.
Cool.
As more a personal villain. Okay. And my fight sequence idea is axe fight. And I have in brackets in the forest. So obviously, I want John Wick with 2 axes in his hands and some assassin lumberjacks, all.
So they climb the trees really fast.
That would be great.
Right?
I actually have. That gives me a couple of ideas.
Can I finish?
Yeah.
Assassin lumberjacks.
I don't know, or
That's
assassins
awesome.
acting as lumberjacks. So we've got obviously axe clashing, hand fight, but then we've got him throwing axes, and then we've got people hacking down trees and felling trees at each other as weapons.
Yeah, that's
which is what I like your idea. I didn't have anybody.
I'm imagining there's a part where he loses both his axes. And he has to go up against a guy with an axe, and he just grabs a branch and stabs him.
Yeah. Well, that was he has to hide behind a tree at some point, and he grabs a stick and he uses his axe to sharpen it, and then he throws it at a guy. And then there should be chainsaws in there somewhere. I
Yeah.
think.
There should absolutely
Yeah.
be chainsaws.
I'm also picturing like lumberjacks like jumping between trees.
Yeah, they can like climb the
They
trees
climb-
really fast.
Yeah,
and, like, I'm imagining them wearing they're all wearing
crawl
stuff
up
like this. Like they're all wearing. I'm imagining like them all in like flannel.
Yeah,
and
they're all
suits
wearing
and
flannel.
shirts,
And they all have
but they're
beards.
all like, but they're like they can
Yeah.
hop between the trees and like so it's like oh welcome to the forest, John. And a bunch of guys drop from the trees.
Oh, I like that a lot because he's so used to like being in like an urban
Cities,
setting,
yeah,
so
exactly.
that you like put him out of his element. And he's got to fight.
He's the
in
only one wearing a
nature.
suit there.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, he's.
You gotta dress to impress.
Everyone else has jeans and flannel.
That's great.
Yeah, that's my pitch for John Wick 4. I imagine the end of it being, even if he doesn't manage to kill everyone at the high table, and like there are people who are gonna still come after him and stuff, for a 5th movie, I imagine that either at the end of this next one or the end of like this series in total, he's gonna get his ring back from the one who sits above the table. Like he's gonna murder that motherfucker, and he's gonna get that ring back.
Cool.
That's my prediction. There you go. Pitch 2 of 5.
Sweet.
Do you want to go next?
Sure, I'll go next. Cool. So mine is. I have sort of a structure, which is not really a structure. It's just like a series of action sequences. I think would be cool.
Great.
So how this one starts is I'm picturing like we see Carrie Ann Moss. It starts like it opens on her and it's like, oh, she's in this. That's great. It's Trinity. That's fun. And then she goes to like some kind of like orchestra opera type thing. She's in like a balcony or something. And then like what's his name? Someone's getting a call.
Oh, whatever. It's me, but it doesn't
Do you
matter.
want to answer that?
No, it's
Okay.
fine. It's just like
We'll just leave that.
yeah, it's fine.
Podcast professional.
I don't have time to answer calls.
We're talking about John Wick. So then she's in like balcony viewing the opera orchestra, one of the two. I haven't decided. Probably an orchestra. I don't know. Anyways,
Operas are more edgy.
fine. It's an opera, but there's also like there's the pit band. With
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so then Laurence Fishburne like comes out of the shadows and like joins her, and we find out that like she's like one of the members of the high table, and then he gives his spiel about like shit gets done under the table and you can't kill a king and all this like stuff and blah blah blah, and he's like, you better, and basically what he's saying is you better like side with us or everyone will die, and he's giving, and she's like, why would I even consider that, and then like he's like, oh well, what we have is we live in the shadows and all this like stuff, and while that's happening we see like there's like guards and stuff around this opera that are like getting killed by John Wick, and like he's doing his whole like he's a man of focus and blah blah blah, and then like he comes out of the shadows and Carrie Ann Moss sees her and she's like, oh John, it's been a while and stuff, and it's like, oh, they know each other, and then and then it's like, okay, well even, and then she's like, okay, well even so, like you have no idea what you're going up against, and then she like nods to a guard, and then he like gives a call, and then the entire like opera like stops, and then the entire audience like just looks at them, and then she just like is like, you will die if you try to like fight us, and then she just like leaves, and then all the like orchestra guys, they like their like instruments like become like guns and stuff. Just like the one violinist that had like a secret
I
gun.
really liked the violin.
I liked her a lot, so I'm like, what if there was more? And then like they just have to fight off like 100 guys. And that's that. I'm picturing that like we actually get to see like Laurence Fishburne fight, and I'm picturing he has like a cane gun of some kind, and his gun, like his cane becomes like a gun, so he's like shotgunning people like in the hallway and stuff. And so then so somehow they get out of there, and then And then they're like, well, that went about as terrible as we expected, so moving on to phase 2 of our plan. Which is, they're like, okay, so you know how there's like the Russian family that like John was sort of a part of at one point?
Yeah.
So there's like other crime sort of assassin families that exist in New York. Specifically a Chinese one. And they're like, we need to get these guys on our side because if we get them, we might actually stand a chance. And it's like, okay, so let's start preparing. And so one of the things that John does to prepare is he meets Joe Pantaleone, who, or however you say his name, it's the Cypher from the first Matrix. I'm picturing he's like this like underground arms dealer because I think that'd be fun. I just wanted to put him in the movie. and he gives them like all this cool gear, and then he gives them like scuba diver equipment. And because in John Wick 3 there's like one part where he kills a guy in like a pool, and I thought that part was really cool. So I'm like, what if there was a whole action sequence that was underwater? And so like on his way to this like Chinese place that he's trying to get to, he has to like travel underwater and fight off like a bunch of guys underwater.
Are there harpoon guns?
There's like harpoon guns, and like some of them have like swords and stuff, and like because like guns don't work, so like you have to do everything basically hand to hand and stuff, and so he has to fight like a bunch of guys underwater.
That's great.
So then after he like infiltrates into their like area, we see like this big like training camp for all these like guys that are doing like kung fu stuff, and they have like bow staffs and like nunchucks and stuff. And then we get like a okay, cool, we're still going. And then we get like a Bruce Lee style action sequence where he has to fight like 100 guys that all have like nunchucks, and he's using like bow staffs and stuff because like we've seen swords already, so I was trying to think of like other weapons we could do.
X-Fight.
So then so he fights like 100 guys, a bow staff or whatever, and then finally like the top guy like shows up, and it's Donnie Yen, and and he's got to do and then like Donnie Yen's like, all right, you fought like all my guys, so I see that you mean business, but like if you can beat me one-on-one, then I'll like agree to join you. And then they have a cool fight.
Does he use Wing Chun?
Sure.
Is it on a table?
Yeah, why not? And the one part I had was like, he's like, oh, you know, Donnie Yen gives him a spiel about like, oh, I've trained whatever for 100 years or something, a long time. I'm really good at fighting, is what I'm saying. And then like John Wick's just like, it's okay, I know kung fu. And then somehow he beats Donnie Yen, and then he's like, all right, you've earned my respect. I will side with you in the war against the table. And he's like, great. So then, and John takes the subway home, but then in the subway is what was that guy's name? Cassian?
Cassian,
and he sees him from like across the subway, and he's like, oh shit, now I gotta fight this guy. So then they fight in the subway, and it's cool. And I'm picturing like the new Toronto subways. They're like all one car, like they're all connected. Oh yeah. So I just picture they just shoot there and they pretend it's New York, and then like so then you can get like cool sequences of them running like all the way down the subway, and then like when the subway like goes around a corner, it like curves, so they're like shooting at each other, but then it like curves out of the way and they like start missing.
That's awesome.
And then eventually like they end up like outside of the subway, and they're just like on the tracks like fighting and like dodging the subways cars as like come by, and then eventually like John like trips him or something, and then Common just gets hit by a train and like explodes. And cool. So then after that,
jeez.
So then John finally gets back to like their kind of main base of operations. But then Halle Berry's there waiting for him, and she's like, "Guess what, John? They have my daughter, so I have to fight you." And he's like, come on, it's been a really long day. I've already fought a lot of guys. I really don't want to fight. And she's like, too bad. And then they fight for a bit, and she beats him. And then she's like, okay, John, listen up, because you owe me a favor. And and he's like, you don't want me owing you, and she's like, well, my daughter's somewhere in New York, so I need your help to get her, and either I kill you now or you help me. And he's like, well, I guess that's what I'm doing. and then he's like, okay, oh man, this has been a long day, but here we go. And then finally he gets some good news. He gets the call. It's John Leguizamo. John, your car's done. And he's like, great. So then, I haven't thought this part very, very hard through, but we just get a really cool car chase. Because I feel like we haven't got like a proper car chase yet in the series. There's been a few parts where like John will hit a guy with a car, or he'll get hit by a car. And he had the one motorcycle chase that was really, really cool. But I want like car chase where there's motorcycles and like trucks and they're shooting at each other and like jumping on top of cars.
Fast
and Furious style, but like all practical, real stunts, and like maybe, you know, he has to sword fight on top of a car at one point, but like it's kind of grounded, so they have to like strap themselves into the car first so they don't like immediately fall off.
Right.
And that's the last like sequence in the movie, and I kind of cheated by not wrapping up any story points, and I just will save that for John Wick 5. So yeah, that's my pitch.
Great.
All right.
I have a piece of paper. It's very loose story ideas. It resembles a story structure, but none of it makes sense. Essentially, so I kind of have it broken up by act, sorta, right now. And I have vague ideas for what I think should happen, and not what I think should happen, but what I think would be fun. So, because if this, I'm not saying what I think should happen, because by no stretch is this a good script. So at the beginning, I'm imagining this movie to have a similar kind of pacing to the first John Wick. So at the beginning, he's not going to be able to do a whole lot of fighting. So it's going to be a lot of him resting and kind of getting his strength back and stuff. You see him doing pull-ups, and he's covered in bandages, and he's like, "Ow, fuck," like all the time. And so it's a lot of that, and he's just kind of hanging out in the with the Bowery folks or whatever. They're somewhere. But then kind of at I don't really know what else is supposed to happen here. But at the end of the first act, there's gonna be a fight sequence where he's there's like kind of like a handful of like high table people and a handful of Bowery people and John, and they go up against each other. But as John's fighting, he's noticing that one of the people with them fights like just like him. So there's like an anti-John Wick in this movie. So like they'll be like, so he'll like do his like weird like head scissor like thing, pull a guy to the ground, use his gun to kill someone, kill that guy. And as he's doing this, he notices that the anti-John Wick is doing the exact thing to like the Bowery people.
Oh, cool.
So it goes. So basically, they end up killing a whole bunch of people. They never actually end up fighting each other. And then like a train or something goes by, or the ground opens up. I don't know. I imagine they just exchange a look. They exchange a look, and it's dramatic. And for whatever reason, they by circumstance they can't fight each other at this time. So that kind of ends the first kind of act there, and then John's like, "Oh man, that guy. Oh, I don't know about that guy. Oh, whatever." So the second act right now I have written. They have to go somewhere and do a thing, because that's usually what happens in stories. So I'm imagining it has something to do with having to cut off some kind of some kind of resource that belongs to the high table, or like they have to get to one of the members. It's like, oh, we have to get to this guy to do this thing, you know?
Right.
You don't just go straight to the end in a story. You gotta have padding. So, essentially, yeah. So, they end up having to break in. So there might be some kind of heist or something, or I don't know. It doesn't matter. Basically, they have to go somewhere and get a thing or do something. But there's a bunch of guys who want to kill them. So John Wick essentially is kind of going at it alone for a lot of this, because like Laurence Fishburne's like, yo, a bunch of Bowery guys just got killed, and I'm cut, so I can't help you right now. So he's like, okay, it's fine. I'll start. He's kind of going like John Wick 1 style, where he's like, oh, I'll just break in here and burn all your money and like that kind of thing. So it's a task like that. That's kind of the main part of the second act. So of course there's going to be some kind of like gearing up sequence, and then he goes and does it, kills a bunch of people. He does the thing, and he ends up. I'm trying to figure out how this works. It's much more vague after this. But at somewhere in the midpoint of the movie, the high table frames John Wick for the murder of the other guy's dog. So the other guy has a dog as well, because he's like a John. I have his name as Walt Jack, so it's like WJ as opposed to JW. So he has like the reverse initials, and he also has a dog. So they frame him for the murder of his dog. So then that sends him after John Wick kind of in full force.
Did he also have a wife?
Sure. He also had a wife, and he's like bound to the table.
Okay, gotcha.
So he's like kind of like a potential future for John Wick. Let's say he has he's missing his ring finger too. They end up having like a really cool like mirror fight, not like with mirrors, but like they're just like matching each other's punches and stuff and grapples and things, and like it's like basically like fighting a mirror. So like it's just gonna be a really cool fight. But then through this fight, they like they'll talk, because he's like, you killed my dog. He's like, what the hell are you talking about, right? So they send Walt after John or whatever, and then through this fight, Walt kind of realizes that John is a good dude, because he also loved his wife and loves his dog and stuff. And that he's been through a lot of shit, and that this really isn't like a lot of this situation isn't really his fault, and like Walt can kind of reason a little bit and kind of see into the situation and kind of he can clearly see himself in John. They end up I don't know. I'm imagining this part of the movie. There's a scene where John is tied to a chair, so somehow through Walt or other resources, John gets knocked out and tied to a chair. Or something, or he's being held down, and then some high table person is like, okay, Walt, you gotta kill John's dog now. So they have John's dog, and he's like, and then Walt's just like, no, I won't. And they're like, okay, by doing that you're going against us, are you sure? And then he's like, and he hesitates, and then the high table person kills John's new dog.
No.
And then then Walt kills that person, I guess, and then the third act is very vague. Okay, so this is what I have, because in your script, in your second act climax, you have to have something really bad happen. So his dog gets killed. I have written Continental burns down. I don't know how or when that happens, but it does. I also have written all the Bowery people die. So they're all dead. Laurence Fishburne's dead.
He's dead too.
They all die, because this is how you
pretty bad. Everything's looking really
everything.
bad.
In the third act, John, Walt, and then Halle Berry, they all team up. And they go to a pound, and they get a bunch of dogs. They get like a whole bunch of dogs, and it's them versus the high table, whatever that means. So they I'm imagining it's like a tower or something. So they end up having to fight through, and then they kill a bunch of people, and then I have that some point in the third act, one of Halle Berry's dogs dies. Because she has two. Right. And then...
This is not a kind movie to dogs.
No. I'm just bringing John Wick back to its roots. This is what this franchise is all about.
Killing dogs.
It's about avenging your dog. So, and then also in this point, we bring back all the like other assassins that like he's let live. So like the two guys from the Raid movies will be back, and then... Common will be back, and like everyone in this like kind of third act sequence. So it's just like bringing everything back, and then after they kill everyone, they essentially just destroy by destroying the high table. They essentially kind of Hydra Winter Soldier it, where like the organization has like nowhere to go, so it kind of just gets disbanded because like they blow up the main like head of it. You know, you cut off the head of a snake. What does it do? It's a lifeless noodle.
Two more go back.
No,
Two
it's
more
a-
shall take its place.
No,
Oh,
High
that's a
Table isn't
Hydra.
Hydra. So basically they just kill everyone. And then I have the end is John, Walt, if he's not dead, because he might die in the third act. And Halle Berry, and John is a new dog, and they're at the spot, the first John Wick, and they say, "Let's go home," and that's how it ends. But his house is burned down, so that doesn't make sense. But I don't know. That's my ideas for John Wick 4. Not a kind movie to dogs, no, but I think that's what the next steps are.
Okay. I don't actually have like a plot pitch. It's just like a few ideas that I had for the fourth one. Like
Perfectly fine.
The new location in like John Wick 3 was like the desert. Like we've never seen that before. I think in the fourth one they should do like the complete opposite, which is like the snow and ice and stuff.
Yeah.
And like they could have like a fight scene on like a frozen lake or whatever, and they're like literally treading on thin ice, and they're, like it could be like a hand-to-hand fight, knife fight or whatever, and like they have to fight each other while also trying not to fall in the ice and break it. Because if they fall, they'll die from hypothermia or whatever. I think that could be intense. In John Wick 3, there were like throwing knives and swords, which we've never really seen before to that extent. And in John Wick 4, I think that they should go with bows and arrows, and, like, crossbows. I think that would be really cool to see. I think that Laurence Fishburne's character is gonna die. Like, he's gonna go out on his own, like Willem Dafoe's character or whatever. Like, he's fighting off a bunch of guys, and then they eventually kill him. Maybe to protect John, like to go after the high table or whatever. But yeah, they almost killed him off in 3. I think this time he's really gonna die.
No resurrection.
Yeah. I think that Trinity should show up from the Matrix or whatever, and like be an ally to John. Like not necessarily like Halle Berry, like fighting alongside him. Like maybe like helping him, like the hotel guy at the front desk. Or it's just like subtly helping him, but not like for fight scenes necessarily. Maybe they should have one fight scene side by side together. I don't know. Maybe John Wick's dog could have a fight scene like with Halle Berry's dogs or whatever. I don't know.
I like that.
Dogs do kung fu.
Yeah.
My dog knows kung fu.
Like dog knows kung fu. Yeah.
Good dog.
Good dog. Yeah. I think the hotel guy at the front desk might die.
I thought he might have died.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna die in 3, so I think maybe they could kill him off in 4. Yeah. Those are all the ideas I had. I just have a lot.
Those are really good.
That's fine. Yeah, I actually thought of something similar while listening to Patrick.
Oh yeah.
I thought, what if they had a fight on a mountain, like on a snowy mountain, with like like pickaxes and stuff.
That would be awesome.
So like they're climbing like a mountain face, and there's a guy like below, and he has to like jump onto him and like with pickaxes. I was
Thinking that'd be like that'd be cool.
Just like in that one G.I. Joe movie where they fight on a mountain.
but way cooler because it'd be practical.
It's actually cool.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
I don't remember either. It was in one of the trailers. You know who
Well,
else
that's
is in,
good because now.
You know who else is in one of those G.I. Joe movies?
Channing Tatum.
Maybe. The one girl from Bobby from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
She is?
She's in one of the movies. Yeah.
She is.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember her.
Because she has
Maybe it was the
she has
second
one of
one.
those
I'm not sure.
faces
She was
where
like
she's
Perkins?
in everything, but you forget her.
Yeah.
Perkins, yeah.
No, I don't remember her in the G. I remember seeing the first G.I. I don't remember anything about it, but I remember.
It might have been the second G.I. Joe. I'm not sure.
I didn't
They
see the
made
second
two of
one. I
those?
saw the first
They
one.
made two.
Huh.
They even got The Rock for the second one, and it still failed,
Yeah.
which is like surprising because that
Yeah.
usually fixes.
I remember
franchises.
Dennis Quaid being in the first one, and it's like, what is he doing here? He's a real actor. What's he doing here?
It's doing in a G.I.
What's he doing in this G.I. Joe movie?
Right. So that's John Wick 4.
I honestly think that the movie will be somewhere between. Are we going?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I honestly think the movie will be somewhere between all of our ideas. Like it'll. We're like they'll probably take elements. Like I think we're all on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had some common themes going through. We had
Yeah.
like
trying to find ways to put him in new environments. That he's
Yeah.
never
Trying to
been
bring
before,
back
so-
trying to bring back all these things they
Yeah,
set up, like
and,
bring
like,
back the
characters
car,
that
bringing
had
back
lived and
characters,
stuff,
bringing
yeah.
back.
I
Yeah.
think I'm not. I think that's my biggest like unknown is whether or not like the next one is their planned last one or if they're planning like more.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, the fourth one
Because
could
like
be.
I thought the third one would be
fourth and the
you know
Yeah.
most movie series are trilogies, so this has to be the last one.
Yeah.
But then it's like nah, just kidding, it's not. So like who knows how many more they have planned.
My Shakespearean wired brain immediately goes like, if you're not doing a 3-act structure, you're doing a 5-act
Right.
structure.
So that's the next logical progression, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's what's weird is how many other like series have like a continuing plot over multiple movies
Mhm.
To this degree.
to this
Yeah.
degree,
Yeah.
right?
I
Do
don't.
you think?
It's this successful even because usually by the third one they kind of fuck up some
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
I was so
Yeah.
impressed in this movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
in
yeah.
this movie, I was like, they kept that up. And it's
Yeah.
Consistently good.
improved.
Yeah.
And Keanu is consistently good.
He is. I mean, he's not given an awful lot of like acting to do in this third
Right.
one.
Yeah. He doesn't have like monologues or anything.
No, but he's very good at the action and the one-liners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what sells it.
Exactly.
Is him doing the stunts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Guns. Lots of guns.
Yeah.
And that sequence where they were fighting the super armor guys at the end of 3.
Yeah.
And he's like, these are really impressive bullets, and they put them in their pistols, and the pistols don't work at all.
Yeah.
They come back. And it's like, well, okay, shotgun rounds, like shotgun rounds will do it.
I love that one shot where John's like, I need more firepower, and then Winston just gives it. He just like look around. Like, what do you want from me? Like, look how this is all the guns.
Yeah, this is a room filled with guns. You have so many to choose from.
Take your pick.
Yeah.
Winston was
What are you yelling at me for?
so casual. It's like, phone rings, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
We
really
will
think
kill
you
you.
can keep this
yeah.
Yeah.
Hang up.
No, they do great. They do really good phone conversations where because they do this in the first one too. There's a whole conversation that John Wick has on the phone with someone where John Wick says nothing, but he says everything by saying nothing.
Yeah.
And that's the same goes for this conversation in John Wick 3 where Winston picks up the phone and says nothing and says everything by saying nothing. And I think that the franchise is really good at. It's really good just in general. That's just one element of the franchise is how sparing they are in dialogue and how sparing they are in elements of the world they show you. But because it's sparing, they're picking and choosing when they want to show things, and they're doing it at the right time.
Exactly. There's a really big difference between like, there's so many examples of poor world building to choose from, but like, the reason John Wick's works really well is because they're picking and choosing things with specificity, and things that like hint at there being a structure and being an order in the world. Like everything does work a specific way. They just don't explain to you what that way is, as opposed to a different like a lesser writer would just go, hey, this would be a cool little thing to have in there, and it doesn't make sense with what we've done before, but like, fuck it.
We're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah. Do it anyway.
Yeah, it's. I love the world building in the series.
It's great.
Because usually they're just like, lots of exposition on how the world works and blah blah blah, like early on. But they don't do that at all. And they never do at any point. They just give you enough to understand what you're watching, which is like really clever.
Exactly, and I feel like a lot of sci-fi fantasy writers need to look at John Wick.
Yeah.
For like, because I think at this point, and the MCU and people like everybody gets the basic fantasy tropes now, and everyone gets the basic sci-fi tropes.
Yeah.
So if you put people in a world like a post-apocalyptic Elysium type world, and there's like there's a thing, there's like a station where the rich people live and everyone else lives on the ground. Like everyone gets that now.
Yeah.
So you don't need to ham fist that down people's throats anymore, and have everybody just randomly talking about the specifics of the world. You can just, you really can just give things piecemeal and just kind of makes it more intriguing, really.
It's kind of like Mad Max Fury Road as well.
Yes.
Where like they don't really tell you anything about the world at all. They just show you elements of it, and that kind of builds the world so much more than anything they could possibly tell you. Is like
show don't tell.
Yeah, it's literally show don't tell, which is just like,
and it works specifically well for film as well.
Yes, because you can show stuff. You don't need to explain things. You can show how it works, and then you'll understand.
Because even in a book, sometimes like third person works really well for like giving a lot of detail about world and like what characters are thinking and stuff. But sometimes if you're doing things from first person perspective, it doesn't make sense to note all of these really cool visual details about the world because your character is used to those things. In a movie, you are the third person eye. Like you are God's eye. You can see all of the cool stuff. You can see Halle Berry's got some really cool like writing tattoos on her. And what do those mean? Well, we don't know.
We don't know exactly.
Exactly, but they're cool.
I've noticed that almost everyone in like the assassin world has some kind of tattoo.
Yeah.
And I guess like we see kind of like more or less where John Wick got trained in 3, and like they all have similar tattoos to him.
Yeah.
Like with the back.
Yeah,
tattoos.
there's the belt.
Yeah, the shoulder.
Strategically, I realized this watching the third one for the second time is that they strategically show you a ballerina first, like someone who's practicing dance, because the outfit is backless and you can see that she has the exact same tattoo as John Wick. And then John Wick shows up, and then that sequence keeps going, and then you see these people, you see these these dancers, and they're fucking up their feet and stuff. Pulls off a toenail, whatever. Then the next room they go into, you see these guys bodying each other the way John Wick bodies people, and she's just like fond memories, and then he says nothing. That tells you everything. Like oh, that must be where he grew up.
It's a
really organic discussion. It's not like, hey John, do you remember when you grew up here for the first 10 years of your life and you ran away from home? Like it's like there's no line like that,
an anime
or anything.
Flashback I remember, and then
he doesn't go into he doesn't blink, and then it goes into sepia tone, and you see John Wick getting bodied by some guy, and they're like, do it again, John. And he's like, I'm bad at this.
I don't want it. It hurts.
Strike first, strike hard, no mercy.
Have you guys seen Cobra Kai?
I have.
I love it.
Isn't it great?
It's so good.
For some reason, it's like the Creed movies where it's way better than it has any right to be.
Did you see Creed 2?
I have not yet seen Creed.
Creed 2 has the dumbest premise and the best execution of any movie I've ever seen.
It's awesome. It's so good.
So my high school writing teacher.
Have you seen up to like season 2, like everything of?
I saw the first episode of season 2, but I need to make another. YouTube algorithm, I need to make another premium account free trial so that I can watch the second season of your show.
Just keep making new YouTube accounts so you can keep watching it for free.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's what I'll do.
Yeah, the season finale of season 2 is one of the most ridiculous things ever, but I really loved it.
Well, here's the thing: it's like the season finale of the first season, does a lot of like stuff where you're like wondering, like, okay, are all these characters going to become like all the kids? Are all the kids going to be like bad now?
Right.
Right. But then they do the first episode of season 2, and they kind of like shows like no, the guy's, he doesn't mean to be a bad guy. Like he's just fallen off the path a little bit.
Yeah.
And he's giving like lessons to the kids, and they one or two of them get it.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's like this very human storytelling.
Yeah,
he's not just changed. He's still the same kid from the first season. I'm talking like the protagonist guy.
Yeah, it's really cool because there isn't really good guys and bad guys.
That's
it's
right.
just people, and that's like what's interesting about it.
It's like life.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like the first Karate Kid.
Yeah, where it's like, okay, they're
the bad guy.
they're the bullies and they're the bad ones, and like it's not really that at all in the new one. And there's so many like different character relationships that like it becomes like really, really interesting.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah. I can't wait to see season 2. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, my high school writing teacher, creative writing teacher, said to me, "It's like, screw your ideas. Anybody can have ideas. It's all about the execution."
Yeah, it's true.
And I'm like, that woman knew what she was talking about.
Because like you could take, it doesn't matter if the idea is the dumbest thing ever. If you execute it well, it's like great. It's like, I have an idea for a movie where this guy's dog gets killed and then he kills a bunch of people.
Yeah, that sounds kind of dumb.
Yeah, but it's amazing. And now there's 3 of them. So, you know?
And everyone in the movies knows how dumb the premise is. That's the thing. It's like, it's so self-aware. John Wick is so self-aware.
I get it.
It knows exactly what it is.
It never tries to be anything that it's not.
It reminds me, I hated the first Kill Bill, but I loved the second one.
Really?
Interesting.
What?
I love the first.
I love the first.
Don't really like the second
one. I think. I feel like the first one is the perfect amount of, like, they give you perfect amount of action and story to like keep doing.
I completely disagree.
And then the second one, they give you too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
The first one, I like that we don't know her name. We never see Bill and like all this stuff. And then the second one is like, here's her backstory. And here's what her name is. And here's what Bill looks like. And it's like, well, now it's not interesting anymore.
Well, I completely disagree, because I feel like with the first one, they didn't do what John Wick did with its world building, which is give you interesting tidbits. It's like, she just fights people. That's it. And then with the second one, what they do is they make it a much more of an epic. It's like this, this is the vengeance tale. And in order to have a vengeance tale, we need to like, how were you wronged and how will you get back at? And there's amazing, like there's a great little twist, and the villain is charismatic and interesting, and
yeah, like
and they do like cheap shots, but they do all the stuff that like epics do, where it's like she got taught the secret move that nobody else gets taught and beats him with it.
And makes him crap his pants. We're watching that movie.
Oh,
today.
Can we do that after this?
Watch Hot Rod?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure, why not?
This podcast has gone off the rails.
Oh, that's our goal.
But Ian McShane is in Hot Rod.
Oh,
and
who's also in the John Wick
He's also in the
movies.
John Wick movies, so it all comes back to Star Wars.
That's
That's how these things usually go.
I know I want to talk more about Kill Bill and stuff. Because I feel like you get... Okay, never mind.
I think that Kill Bill is a perfect movie, and the second one is flawed. I like it, but it's flawed.
I rewatch the first one all the time. I don't rewatch the second one.
To be fair, I've only watched both of them once.
Okay, that's fair, I guess.
I've
And
watched
on my watch through,
part
like,
of each
the
of
first
them.
one I was
haven't seen all
kind of
Kill Bill?
bored.
Oh, you
I was
should.
kind of bored throughout the first one.
Really?
First
And
one's like
then the
mostly
second
action.
one I was like, alright, okay, I've got something to work with. I've got some character juice to drink.
I was
Yeah, no.
way more bored.
Yeah,
the
no,
second
I was. That's what I was thinking. Because you're like, I like stories with characters. I'm like, oh shit, Josh's pitch is probably gonna have like character stuff in it. Mine's just like, fuck, I don't know, this happens.
That's what mine was
Yeah.
too. It's fine.
Mine didn't actually have much character
Yeah.
shit going on. It was more about like how the war would work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to think of that, and then I'm like, okay, it would probably take 2 movies to at least to wrap this whole up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna worry
They're
about how it
probably-
wraps
yeah,
up.
they're probably gonna-
What
they're-
would be cool action?
Mhm.
I don't know, underwater maybe. So
I definitely feel like if they're planning to make it 5 movies, or they're making it if they're making it 6 movies, they can do whatever they want with the 4th one. I don't give a fuck. If they're doing
Yeah.
5, they need to know exactly how they want to end it,
yeah, already.
Already.
Yeah, it's
so that they can set
interesting.
it up properly.
I-
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. I maybe maybe Harry Potter is the closest other series that's gone like several movies and done like a
Yeah.
complete story. But even so, like the real plot like doesn't even kick into like the 4th movie, and it's just kind of like villain of the week stuff up to that
those
point.
are based on books.
And
as
they're all
well.
based on books, so
These are
books
original,
kind of have
yeah.
a different
John
structure.
Wick is an
to them.
original
They do.
property.
Yeah.
That can go anywhere.
I remember
Yeah.
like
It'd be
reading.
anything.
If you read the books, it's a lot. The Harry Potter books, it's a lot easier to understand why they're going to school, and like as a movie, I'm like, why the hell do any of them bother with classes at this point?
Right, because they're all like 20 by that point.
Yeah, well, they look like they're
I'm
20.
23 and I go to high school.
Yeah.
What's
So
your
it's-
name?
Yeah, but it's
But
also
it's-
like the war is kicked in. We gotta.
Well, yeah,
we
all,
should
it
do
seems like
stuff.
all of the actual important shit is going on outside of Hogwarts
Yeah.
for most of those movies.
Yeah, for most of like
From like
5 and 6.
Well,
It's like
4, 5,
those.
and 6.
It's
kind
like
of.
those mangas
Yeah.
that they turn into like. It's like Attack on Titan middle school, like that kind of shit. where, like, they take
Yeah.
these interesting mangas and they put all the characters in high school just because fuck it.
Fate Stay Night, you suck.
It's like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
also-
the main story.
it's so funny because if a show is good enough, then and they've been ham-fisted into a high school situation, they will get themselves out of the high school situation very quickly. Like Code Geass, that anime is great because it starts off in a high school and everything in the high school is dumb. Everything that happens in the high school is the worst piece of garbage you've seen. And then they get out and it's mechs and it's strategy and it's world domination and it's fucking great.
I feel like there's a lot of animes where like there is that stuff happening, but then it's like, well, we still gotta get to class. And like,
Like
it's like,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
it's
GX.
like why?
Well, like, even
Yeah.
My Hero Academia, which is literally the epitome of what we're talking about.
Right.
Like it's superheroes learning to be superheroes in class.
Yeah, but
Um,
that's like that one. They, from what I've heard,
That's
they.
just Sky High.
But
Yeah.
they do shit outside of class that
Right.
gets them in like serious trouble. But then they also like earn provisional hero licenses, so they are like if they see crime on the street, they are able to take action.
Okay,
And a lot
that's
of like the cool shit that happens, they do have to get out of the high school environment in order to deal with like situations that kids really shouldn't be dealing with. But like they do get themselves out of class often enough that it's not I don't have an issue with it.
Right.
It's a good thing John Wick doesn't go to high school.
It's a really good thing.
Oh, can we
Oh,
see
we
John
missed
Wick?
it.
The John Wick manga where like him and all his assassin friends go to the same high school. And it's like,
I really-
My Assassin Academia.
Yeah, that's what. That's
They
what
already
I
have
wanna
that
see.
assassination classroom.
Oh, well, that but with John Wick.
And there's like Halle Berry, and they get the girl from X-Men Apocalypse who plays Storm to be like a young.
No, I want to see them now playing high school.
Guys, we missed the most important. We've got axe fighting in the woods. We've got pickaxe fighting on a mountain. We've got
Knife fighting.
ice lake.
Yeah.
Knife fighting.
All that good stuff, and we've got car chase and all that stuff.
Oh,
We
water
missed high school
Yeah.
as the key environment that John Wick has not yet been in.
Yeah.
That's right. And if you see Cobra Kai season 2, you'll see why that's the perfect place.
I mean, they could also. I mean, you could just think of like any like terrain, and they'll make it awesome.
That's
like it's
true.
like like a rocky shore with like water and rocks and shit everywhere. And John Wick's throwing people onto the sharp rocks, and he's picking up the pebbles, and he skips a rock across a lake, and it pokes a guy's eye out. Like,
on the side of a cliff, and they're like fighting on the side of a cliff, or like in an old abandoned Scottish castle.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be so fucking great.
They're in a cave with a bear. He throws a guy at the bear.
Oh, you know how like Brienne has to fight a bear at one point in Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Just like a scene where John Wick has to fight a bear for some reason.
Like he has
Throw
like,
that on the whiteboard.
Like he has his gun.
You listening up?
He shoots.
Chad Stikolowski, what's his name?
Stadesky, I think.
Chad Stadesky, you listening up? We got some great ideas here. John Wick fights a bear. Write it down.
With his bare hands.
With his bare hands.
I'm thinking of making a fair fight. John Wick has like a gun with like 2 bullets in it, so he pops off his 2 shots, which is his chest shots on the way to the head, and then he realizes that he's out of bullets when he gets to the head, and he's like, "Fuck!" So he throws the gun at the bear, and then it's on. Yeah.
The one thing with the escalation though is I really need in my soul for them to strip his plot armor away and to like keep it being awesome, but not impossible.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel like he gets hurt enough, and he actually has to reload too. That like that's such a high, like that's so much higher than most action movies that like it kind of makes up for
like
any survivable stuff.
don't go the Fast and Furious direction where
Right.
suddenly like there are super soldiers in this Hobbs and shit
I think it's funny though.
Shaw movie.
In a weird, have you seen any of the Fast and Furious movies?
I've seen all the Fast and
You
Furious
have?
movies. Yes, I binged them all.
But they're kind of fun, right?
they're great
Because of how ridiculous they are.
yes,
Because by 5 it gets self-aware.
It's like it's completely the opposite like end of the spectrum from John Wick, but like in a weird way they're sort of similar because they're both like original property action movies that aren't based on anything, and they get like crazier each movie. You know what I
But
mean?
like the first Fast and Furious movie was about street racing.
Yeah, it's not, and that one's not very good either.
it's not terribly good. But like even the fifth one, one is like they have cars. That's what they do.
Yeah.
They've got cars, and then by the 8th one, it was like, planes and submarines, bitches.
Yeah, it does nothing.
We've
to do
got
with anything.
super hackers
Yeah.
and eyes in the sky that can pick out people's faces.
Yeah, it's just nonsense.
It's just complete, I just don't want John Wick to become nonsense.
Right.
I want it to remain
I
high
think it's
quality,
gonna stay.
awesome action
I think
stuff.
they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I think they know
trust
exactly
the people, the John Wick people.
what they're doing. And,
I just
you know.
here's the thing. It's like the more movies that are successful in a franchise that is ongoing, the more worried I get that they're going to slip up at some point.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
So because something like Lord of the Rings, like there's 3 of them.
They're all great.
They're all great. That's it. Game of Thrones has 4 fantastic seasons, and then they start slipping. And I
Yeah.
like a lot of the stuff in season 6 and some of the stuff in season 7, and then season 8. They dropped the ball from the top of the CN Tower.
Yeah.
I like 8 more than 7 though.
That, you know what? That's your opinion.
It is my opinion. And
It is, and I'm not gonna fight you on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Even Harry Potter, we now have the Fantastic Beasts movies. So
How
there you go.
fantastic are those?
I think the biggest difference between John Wick and Game of Thrones is that John Wick has always been an original property that isn't based on anything.
That's
Right.
true.
That's a
And
good-
so they
that's a
have
very good
complete
point.
creative control from the very
Yeah.
beginning. They
That's-
aren't basing
It's
it
not
on
an
anything.
adaptation. You're
There's
absolutely
no-
right.
They're-
There's still an opportunity to
They're
fuck
just
it up,
building
though.
on top of stuff that they've invented themselves.
Kung
Yeah.
Fu Panda.
like
is a
Mission,
better example.
like Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. That's another really great
Oh, yeah,
Mission-
original
Mission
property. Like,
Impossible.
well,
Mission Impossible.
it's not an
Yeah.
original property. It's not an original property, but it's
But
like
it's
like
kind of become its own.
yeah, it's
thing.
become its own
The
thing.
thing
It's,
about Mission
It's not like
Impossible-
they're like adapting episodes of the old TV show.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But the thing about Mission Impossible is that they, each movie is self-contained,
Yeah.
right? So they finish up their plot lines so that every movie could be the last movie.
Yeah.
And so I'm not invested in
Right.
Mission Impossible 7 being good. I don't care if Mission Impossible 7 is good.
Yeah, you're
because-
not like, oh man, I gotta see what happens next.
Exactly.
It's just like,
Because
if they make another one, I hope it's good.
If,
basically.
you know, yeah, if that was going to be the way they played it, they would have,
Yeah.
you know, continued 6 on, like, gone like, yeah, we're going to make a 7th, and that will be the big one.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. And so, it's like, John Wick is like, no, the end of the story very much depends on what happens next.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I'm like, biting my nails off.
Will they pull it off? I don't know. For some reason, I have a good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that,
they haven't.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Three in a row is a good track record.
That's
It's
pretty
a great
good.
track
Yeah.
record.
That's higher than most.
Do you think they wrote? Do you think they wrote? Now the question is, do you think they wrote like after one? Once they realized they could make more, they like planned a trilogy after that.
I see. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know.
There's no way to know. I
No,
don't
until
think.
they're like, until they officially state this is the last one we're doing.
Yeah.
Which, who knows when that'll be.
Yeah.
They're making money.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So,
That's
I don't know.
true.
I think if they do any more than 2 more, it has the risk of like going a little off the rails and just becoming
Yeah.
more mind-numbing than exciting.
Well, here's the other thing is that they're making great money with these movies. They have to be because they're
yeah,
great.
because they keep doing them.
They keep
They're
doing
great.
them, right?
And they're cheap too, like compared to most blockbusters.
Yeah,
they're
I'm
like
I'm
under.
noticing
They're
that.
all under 100 million.
The
which is a
collective
lot.
budget of all 3 John Wicks is like 125 million.
Yeah,
Really?
Or
which is
115 million.
which is pennies compared to like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's like
Aladdin.
that's
Yeah,
like
Endgame,
that's less
Endgame,
than
stuff like
the
that.
collective budget of all 3 John Wick movies is less than half the budget of Justice League.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Right.
You can make 4 3 John Wick movies with the amount of money it took to make Solo.
There's-
You can make 12 John Wick movies.
Yeah.
These are cheap movies, but
There's
they
a
know
gr-
what they're doing. Like,
There's a great.
Way better than Solo and
Yeah.
Justice League.
I have a
as
great
well.
quote from Bruce Campbell, who's on Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum recently, which is a great podcast. And he said, instead of making one $200 million movie, what you should do is make 100 $2 million movies. Half of them will suck, 25 will be mediocre, 10 of them will be good, 3 of them will be great, and 2 of them will be classics.
Did you just describe his career?
Yes. Because he's like literally like we made The Evil Dead on like maybe $1 million. Like he's like we made it on like crackers basically. Like, we made it on nothing, and like it was enough. And because Sam Raimi's like such a great director that it had enough style in it that they're like, yeah, make another one of those, and they gave them more money. And now like Sam Raimi has a career, Bruce Campbell has a career. Like it was that. It was just like
That's,
you know, like that's how you do it. You make a low budget movie.
50
That's just a
weeks,
complete
it's
risk,
terrible.
but it, you know, it's got a much higher chance of making its money back because you don't spend $200 million on it.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
Well,
that's that.
that's the thing.
so do you think that the creators of John Wick were given $200 million and they just went, "We're gonna make 5 movies with this budget"?
I think they were given. I think they were.
No,
I think it's movie to movie with
it's
them.
literally moving.
I'm sure it
Yeah.
is movie to movie, but I think it'd be hilarious.
Yeah, they're like
If they managed
secretly
to-
like plotting.
Or it's like we have this
Right.
idea for this thing, and it's like, all right, this is like, you're going into a climate of like 20 million Marvel movies, DC movies, Fast and Furious movies, like all the Disney movies, like all these franchises that people know and recognize, and you want to make a movie called John Wick. What the hell is a John Wick? Well, you see, it's Keanu Reeves and he shoots people. Okay, we'll give you 20 million. Show us what you can do.
Right.
I think something like that probably went down, where
Yeah.
a project like that is not something that studios have a lot of faith in when it's 1, an original idea, and 2, people care about it.
Yes,
Yeah.
true.
It's like that's not something that studios like to hear. They don't like to hear, "Oh, but I care about it," and "Oh, it's original." They like to hear, "Will it make us money?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Is this a safe investment?
yeah, exactly. So they're like, okay, this is whatever, 20 million. We can throw that out. Whatever.
Every once in a while, we make
can lose-
Expendables movies.
We lose that.
makes sense, so.
We lose that every 4 movies we make. So like, whatever. Like just fuck it, try it.
Yeah, do it. Why not?
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is already on board. Okay, that's enough we can put him on a
he
poster.
was in that Matrix movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shot people in that. I guess people will remember that.
I love I think did you say like 20 years from now, like Keanu Reeves will be known for doing the John Wick movies?
Yeah,
and not
I was
for
thinking,
doing
I feel like the
Matrix?
next generation,
Yeah.
the generation after us, like, people who will be 20 in 20 years are going to be like, you know what, Keanu Reeves, he was, like, pretty good in The Matrix, but, like, those John Wick movies are awesome.
Like,
Right,
he
yeah.
really hit his stride.
They're going to be,
when he did the John
when
Wick.
he did- they're going to be like, John Wick is what, like, this is like his shit. Like I'll watch them. It's like, oh yeah. It's like, oh, did you see? It's like, oh, you saw. It's like, you've seen John Wick. It's like, oh yeah, of course I have. It's like, well, have you seen The Matrix? It's like, what's that? It's like, oh, it's the thing he did before John Wick. Okay, I'll check it out. It sounds cool. It's like, yeah, that was pretty good. I think I'm just gonna rewatch John Wick perpetually now.
I don't think that'll happen though. Like
I could see that being a
I'm
conversation.
thinking about it
20 years
because
from
like
now.
The Matrix was like an international cultural phenomenon when it came out, and it's still regarded as one of like the most important movies ever made. And John Wick is kind of a niche. Is still kind of a niche thing.
Yeah,
But it's
And
like,
there are 3 movies in.
Yeah, but like,
It's
I don't know.
so
Ask,
They're great.
They're all great.
They're all great.
By the
Do a
time
survey,
Matrix
yeah.
was like in the dumpster. By the
That's
time
true.
they got
Yeah.
to this,
But
point,
the first,
yeah.
like the first one, is
It's
still
good.
Yeah,
it's still regarded.
Would you say is like a
highly.
monumental movie from like the 80s or like anything before the year 2000, right?
The 80s?
Anything before the year 2000, let's say.
I don't know.
Star Wars.
Star Wars,
Star
yeah,
Wars.
like
Terminator.
Empire, Terminator.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways,
Aliens,
let's say okay, do
Back
it if
to
you
the
do
Future.
you do a let's say like Terminator, like the first Terminator. If you do a survey of like people from like our generation on how many of us have seen the Terminator, it'll be like, you know, iffy. It'll be very iffy.
It'll be
right?
less than 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
people have seen a Terminator movie.
Yeah, exactly,
but
right?
not
But
necessarily.
yeah, so
the
I feel
first
like
one.
it'll be like that, where even though these movies are important, I think that the mainstream will reflect the ones that like the more recent, more high quality products like John Wick.
Yeah. I think that John Wick already kind of has like a cultural impact though. Like,
Yeah, it does.
People are like, oh yeah, that's the one where his dog dies and he kills.
Oh
a
yeah,
bunch of
yeah,
people.
yeah. That's
You know?
And it's
it's
like
kind of
awesome.
it was kind of a meme for like
Yeah.
it is still kind of a meme,
Like,
but
they
like
put, that's in the credits of Deadpool. Too.
Yeah.
It's like from one of the guys who killed John Wick's dog.
yeah, it is like a cultural thing.
That's true.
But I think another reason why Matrix was so big was that like it was like, oh, let's question our existence and what makes us human and stuff like that. And so so it's kind of got the philosophical element to it as well. It's like, are we in a Matrix world and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's
So,
true. Matrix is.
It kind of it
So
built like
does
it
have,
created
like-
conversation among
This man
people.
had an idea,
But yeah,
Gas.
yeah.
I did have an idea.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Wick should show up in Deadpool 3.
Straight
just,
up.
just like Ryan Reynolds is like, we're gonna need help on this next mission. I know who to go to, and then he just knocks on John Wick's door. He's like, yeah.
Well, because I am imagining if they do a Deadpool 3, it'll be like, oh, we're gonna dimension hop him into the MCU, right?
Yeah.
But it'd be hilarious if he then goes, I've got just the dimension to visit for somebody to help us out,
Yeah.
and he visits the John Wick dimension. Like, and it doesn't have to be canonical with John Wick
Right.
and the John Wick story, but it'd be hilarious if he just gets John Wick to help him. With
Yeah. I don't even bother with like explaining it with dimension hopping. I think you should just like
Just do it.
look him up in a phone book and like go to his house.
Or just
WWWIW.
I mean, he can always make. You can always make that joke by having
Yeah.
him go to Keanu Reeves' house and be like, "Hey, I need you to be John Wick for a bit."
Right. Yeah. Or he goes to Keanu Reeves' house and he's like, I need John Wick, and he's like, well, I do know kung fu. I don't know. That sort of thing.
So I do all my own stunts.
Yeah.
So.
I do all my own stunts, so I'm basically John Wick.
Have you guys seen the trailers for Always Be My Maybe, which is a Netflix movie that's just come out? Okay, Keanu Reeves is in it.
Oh.
And the trailer is bog standard. Like,
Isn't it a romantic comedy?
It's a rom-com.
movie? Yeah, okay.
it's a rom-com trailer, and it's bog standard. And then at the very end, they've got a shot where it's like Keanu Reeves, and he shows up, and he kind of goes, he does this thing where he goes, "It's me." He was just like,
I'm thinking I'm back.
Keanu Reeves.
Oh,
And it's just, that shot is like perfect.
I don't know if you guys know, but he's in Toy Story 4. I know you guys don't care, and I don't really care either. Keanu Reeves is in Toy Story 4,
That's
and he
cool.
plays a toy of a Canadian stuntman. And I'm like, that's perfect. I'd like to see that bit. If I had to see any part of Toy Story 4, I care about that the most.
Key and Peele are the
Yeah,
buddy
but
thing.
I don't really care that much.
Hey.
I could just watch.
That's
Key
like
and Peele.
amazing,
Like,
though.
yeah, that's fun. I want to see that. I kind of want to see that.
Keanu's Canadian.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And look, like again, it's another thing with the Toy Story franchise. It's like they've done the third one. I was convinced it was going to be dog shit, and it wasn't. It was great.
It was pretty
Yeah,
great.
it was good.
I
was
really enjoyed
good.
it. So
it's the
really good.
it's the perfect
It's
ending.
possible that we're gonna see Toy Story 4 and the same thing's gonna happen. It's gonna be great.
I don't know. They've Pixar has
Their
has
grasp
dropped the
is
ball at
better.
a couple of big properties that makes me feel like they don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, it feels like for every Coco we get like a Finding Dory.
Yeah, it's
You know what I
true.
mean?
And it's
So-
like, oh, like
Well, they are. Here's the thing: it's like
don't
Pixar was
know.
uninterested in doing sequels
Yeah.
pretty much until Disney bought them.
Yeah, and then it's like now that's most of what they do,
Yeah.
which is so sad because stuff like Coco is so good. It's like a new.
Monsters
it's an original
University
story.
was alright.
Yeah, they're all right, but I
Yeah.
want great.
It's
Yeah,
like-
it's
I
true.
forgot
That's
that
true.
movie existed. I was like,
I don't want-
What was
yeah.
it? I'm like, out of my head, I'm like Finding Dory. I feel like they did something with monsters or like maybe along the lines of Toy Story 4 or Finding Dory, but I can't recall it at this moment. I don't think it exists.
like Incredibles 2 is all right,
yeah.
but I don't want all right.
I forgot that Incredibles 2 existed. Also.
Exactly.
Like,
I don't want
forget that all
Toy
these
Story 4 to
movies
be
exist.
all right. I want it to be great. Every Toy Story movie has been great.
Yeah.
I don't want an all right Toy Story movie. I don't want that. Just
Yeah.
don't make it if it's
Yeah.
gonna be all right. Just don't bother.
That's gonna make
Sorry.
the movie, so.
We'll take a chance on a new idea.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like John Wick.
You got creative people at
Take a chance on
Pixar, I'm
a-
sure.
Creative people in Pixar? It's unheard of.
I want a new Inside Out. I want a new
Coco.
No.
Yeah.
Not another one. I just mean like something
I
like
know.
that.
Yes, not a
An
sequel to
original-
Inside Out. You want
an
a-
original
Every
idea.
2 years. We're gonna get one this year.
Yeah, I think there. I feel
What's
like
the original
there was
one
a,
this year? Because that's the
I
rules. That you
think
get,
there was a trailer
you
for
get
for a
a
new Pixar movie.
an original
recently.
Pixar movie that's great,
Every-
and then a
every
sequel
2
that's
years,
fine,
yeah.
and then an original Pixar that's great, and then a sequel that's fine.
I mean, I didn't
They've been
like
doing that for the
Brave.
last 4 years. So
Yeah, Brave was the one where it's like, oh, whoops.
That's the exception. I think that's the exception to the rule.
Well, Wreck-It Ralph
Yeah.
came out that year, and Wreck-It Ralph is a Disney movie that feels like a Pixar movie, and Brave is the inverse of that. So I think it evened out.
Yeah.
That's fair, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
guys
that-
seen the second Wreck-It Ralph?
It
No.
looked like bad.
It looked dumb. So-
It was not it didn't feel like a Wreck-It Ralph movie even a little bit, but it wasn't like, and it was cheesy and for kids and stuff, but it was all right.
Mm.
Like,
I don't want all right.
I want John Wick.
Give me John.
All
Wick
right.
Pixar.
Yeah.
Do we want to wrap this up?
Yeah, let's wrap this
All right,
up.
closing thoughts on John Wick.
John Wick's really good.
I want more.
I want more. I hope they don't fuck it up.
I don't think they
But I
will.
also kind of don't think they
They
will.
haven't.
No.
They haven't really worried me at all.
I think part of it is also that like John Wick is, it's a complex like world, but it's like a very simple plot most of the time. It's just like John Wick's got to fight some guys, and that's about it. So like it's kind of hard to screw that up, really.
Yeah. Even as it gets more complicated, it's
Yeah.
still simple. It's like, oh, there's this marker thing, and it's like, what does that mean? It means John Wick has to go somewhere and kill some people. It's like, oh, all these people are being sent after them. What does that mean? It means John Wick has to kill some more people. It's like
Yeah.
John Wick 3. I like seeing 2 and 3 again because I was a little. I thought I was pretty sure about the plot with them, but like watching them again, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, this makes sense. Like it just kind of clicked in like a little more.
Yeah, there's a lot of beats in John Wick 3 that are like, remember the thing from 2 where Laurence Fishburne gave him a gun with 7 bullets? Well, that's coming back to bite him now. That's important again. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, good thing I watched this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so it's very rewarding to watch them all in a row as well, and I think that
Yeah.
this will be a franchise that you can just marathon for years.
Hell
Yeah. Cool beans.
yeah. Alrighty.
Thanks for watching.
Tuning in.
Tune in next time for spaghetti versus lizards.